Breaking right now, an extraordinary courtroom verdict. Prince Harry has lost his £50 million case against the Daily Mail. But today, as he arrives for a speech at Chatham House, the moment this devastating verdict is announced, I can tell you, he has also lost his reputation. This man lied in court. He committed perjury. And he can sue me if he wants. King Charles must now strip his titles. This case, this verdict was make or break for the Duke of Delusion, and it is over. It's worth pointing out he's also dragged 7 other claimants down with him, including Baroness Doreen Lawrence, a woman who the Daily Mail supported through the murder of his son, Stephen Lawrence. However, the judge, Justice Nicklin, has accepted the explanation of all the Daily Mail journalists in question. This was not a split decision, as many of us suspected. This was a slam dunk for the Daily Mail. It wasn't even close. So today we are going to get into this astonishing verdict which has been delivered just this afternoon with a special royal superstar panel. Joining us, legendary royal commentator Hugo Vickers, the author of Queen Elizabeth II, A Personal History. The American journalist and broadcaster Paula Frolick of Paula Frolick Uncensored on YouTube and Substack. And the royal columnist for the Daily Telegraph and The Spectator, Lee Cohen of The Tea with Lee. So no wonder, as Prince Harry arrived at Chatham House the moment that this verdict was handed down, there was no security, but also no crowds whatsoever.
That Range Rover and make his way into Chatham House. Like I say, this is the first of a sequence of events. He is also expected to hear that ruling regarding Associated Newspapers, that joint ruling, later this afternoon.
He went inside looking haunted and got up on stage. Remember, by the way, Harry had his script. He had his script in his pocket and was planning, if he had won on even one of the 14 counts, was planning to get up there and say, "I'm the Dragon Slayer. Not only have I brought down the Daily Mail, I've just brought down the entire British mainstream media." Instead, he had to go ahead with this.
I hope you leave this conference with a deeper understanding of what the Invictus movement really is, and not simply a week of sport every 2 years, but a community united by one belief, that the unconquered human spirit exists in every nation, and that our shared responsibility is to create the conditions in which it can flourish. Thank you.
He is a broken man. To this very special superstar panel reacting to this major breaking news, Hugo Vickers, I mean, this wasn't even close. It was a slam dunk. Lots of people thought the judge might just give Harry sort of a win on one of the 14 just so he had something to walk away with. But he didn't get that. This is a total destruction of his case and I believe his reputation today.
Well, and you raise a lot of interesting points, I must say. And you mentioned his reputation. I mean, he hasn't done an awful lot to enhance his reputation in the last few years. You know, when you talk about some of the things to do with his wish for privacy, well, we think back to the memoir Spare, which I myself reviewed. I read the whole thing. I found a great number of faults of fact in it. So I think he was probably very unwise to go to court against the Daily Mail unless he had, you know, an absolutely cut and dried case, and he quite clearly didn't. And so we must respect the verdict of the court. And I just wonder what will happen next.
Well, indeed, because Paula Frolick, remember, if it wasn't for this last-minute, very sensible intervention from King Charles, Prince Harry would right now be residing at Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. It is, I think we all know exactly why he's not there now. But also, you know, Dan, the point is, I think Harry knew he was going to lose. This is a last-ditch effort. So back in December 2025, there's a very interesting article on the Upsetter Substack right now, and it has an interview of a man who actually tried to intervene and get the Daily Mail to settle after all of the evidence was made public. It was around Christmas time, and Harry and team knew they were up a creek without a paddle. They saw all the notebooks. They saw everything that the Daily Mail had. They tried to settle, and the Daily Mail pretty much went, no, we shall not. Let's go to court. They wanted to put the nail in that coffin. And right now he's financially up a creek, reputationally up a creek. And I think Invictus is going to be the ultimate victim in this.
Which is obviously a sad thing, although a lot of people questioning actually whether Invictus should even go on anymore. We will come to that because, of course, that's officially the reason why he's in the United Kingdom. Lee Cohen, what can Harry say about this now? I mean, if he goes ahead and says, oh, no, the judge got this wrong, he's going to look even more insane.
Well, Dan, it's hard to imagine him looking more insane considering the circus of the past few days, not to mention of the past 10 years. I think his reputation is irretrievably stained. And frankly, I feel compassion for the victim, the veterans who are his charity is representing, and all of the charities that are connected with him. What charity would possibly want to be associated with this man after he has, had so many blows to his character, to his reputation? It's amazing. I don't know if you recall a couple of years ago, there was a hero who was killed on the battlefield that has a charity in his name, and his mother objected to Harry receiving an award in her son's name, and she remarked that his reputation is just too divisive and too controversial, and I think we're seeing that play out now.
Well, we absolutely are. Now, I want to talk about one of, I think, the most damning parts of the case for Prince Harry. It's also one of the most salacious, but remember, he is the man who decided to drag into court a former fling to try and destroy her. Now, Paula Frolic, the messages were produced as evidence. And remember, Charlotte Griffith, all credit to her, because I know I've been quite tough on her about certain aspects of the Harry story, but she had never released these messages publicly. It was only once Harry took her to court that she went public with them. Now, he said to her in the messages, this was in December 2011, hi, it's H, in case you were confused by the name in the picture. So he said, it's H. She replied saying, hello, Mr. Mischief. So that was a name that she had given to him, but it was included in the messages and the back and forth exchange. And the back and forth exchange, let's just be honest about it, makes it clear that there was an intimate relationship between the two of them. So surely Prince Harry was lying in court. Will there be a consequence to that?
I'm not sure if there's going to be a legal one in the UK. There will definitely be a social one, because right now I can legally say Prince Harry, comma, a known liar. Or if I was kind, Prince Harry, comma, a known serial memory variant, And the other thing is, in the US, it is very hard to sue someone for libel. You have to have a reputation to defend. And one can argue right now that he does not have that anymore at all. So, I think it's going to be much more social than it will be legal. I'm not sure there's an appetite for the court system.
No, because there never is. And that's the problem. I feel like he is just going to keep on. Look, the problem I've got with him is he keeps on trying to destroy other people's lives. I mean, Charlotte Griffiths and Katie Nicholl, they're people I've known personally, right? Years and years and years ago, we were both on the beat together. They are honest women. I mean, Katie has just gone through her own cancer battle. They both are mothers.
Prince Harry's relationship with the British media has been strained for decades. He has often spoken about the intense press attention he experienced growing up and has linked it to the tragic death of his mother, Princess Diana. Since stepping back from royal duties, Harry has continued pursuing legal action against several newspaper publishers over privacy and alleged unlawful information gathering. Those cases have become one of the defining features of his post-royal life. Recent court proceedings involving the publisher of the Daily Mail have once again placed Harry at the center of public attention. Some headlines describe the outcome as a major setback. Others argue it is simply one stage in a complex legal process that could continue through appeals or related proceedings. Legal disputes rarely end with a single hearing. Instead, they often involve procedural rulings, preliminary decisions, and multiple stages before reaching a final conclusion. That broader context is important when evaluating dramatic headlines. For Prince Harry, these lawsuits have always represented something larger than individual newspaper stories. He has repeatedly said he wants greater accountability within parts of the media. Supporters believe his legal actions could encourage higher journalistic standards. Critics question whether the litigation has been effective and point to the financial and personal costs involved. Whatever your perspective, the cases have kept Harry in the public spotlight long after leaving official royal duties. The latest ruling has reignited debate across television, newspapers, and social media. Some commentators believe the decision weakens Harry's broader campaign against the press. Others argue that one setback does not erase the significance of the issues he has raised. As with many legal stories, public opinion often depends on which aspect of the case receives the most attention. It's also important to distinguish between arguments made by lawyers, commentary from media personalities, and the actual findings of the court.
Just that message alone, that is a close relationship at the very least. That's not someone who you will forget in a couple of years' time. And Hugo, I mean, you're an author, you're a journalist. If a royal was sending you messages like that, you'd remember it, wouldn't you? So I think Harry, unfortunately, has been totally proven wrong because Charlotte Griffiths was able to bring the receipts.
Yes, it certainly would seem like that. And I don't want to defend Prince Harry in any way at all. I'm afraid I don't think he's terribly bright, and I think he's probably gone into all this and I don't know, maybe been to some extent encouraged by his legal team that he had a chance of winning.
Yeah.
And you know what it's like when you get hooked into these situations. Probably egged on to some extent by his wife, because my theory, which I've certainly on many occasions in the past, is that a lot of the things he says don't seem to come from his head. They seem to be put into his head by his wife. Meghan speak, you can often tell that when he's making public statements. I've actually gone so far, if I'm allowed to say it, to say that I think he ought to be wearing one of those orange hostage suits that you sometimes see.
It's sort of the same colour as Paula's jacket.
Well, yes. Well, yes. But I don't mean to be rude, Paula. But much smarter jacket. Anyway, they go right across the orange things. But you know what I mean.
No, I do.
And I would just say this, that I live in a sort of slight atmosphere of chaos. And one day I picked up a copy of Hello magazine that was lying on the floor. And there was a picture of Prince Harry smiling and grinning and looking really happy. And I thought, hang on a minute, what's all this about? Then I looked at the date, 2015, i.e. pre-Meghan. In my view, he's always looked incredibly unhappy ever since he got involved with her. And you know, I think they're always trying to reinvent themselves. And one thing goes on for another. So it's a court case, or it's her cutting up petals and scattering them on the salads and the things that she does. It's all very tiresome. And I was dreading this whole week with him coming to London anyway, because the moment he appears, it becomes a sort of contradiction with the British royal family, who are working for United Kingdom and Commonwealth, whereas he and his wife are working for themselves. And so it's always whatever he's doing, but takes on a great import. And one other point, if I may just make it, is,
please,
you know, he has, supported Invictus Games, which is a brilliant concept, which is to show wounded people that they are not victims. What has he done to himself? He's turned himself into the biggest victim of all time.
So true. And you're completely right. Here are the real royals this week, conducting their duty, going about it without any sort of drama. Although I do say King Charles and the tank. I wonder if he was sending a little bit of a message with that to his youngest son. And it's like, I mean, what is he talking about? Seriously. This is not your job. It's not your country anymore. It's not your place to comment. And I find it completely bizarre that he pressed ahead with this speech, actually.
Well, he has certainly not befriended himself to the American people. He's made comments trashing our Constitution, trashing our free speech policies, and the fact that he and his wife have become absolute box office poison in Hollywood, the place where you would have imagined, if anywhere, they could have thrived, is just, it's head spinning. And what you really wonder, Dan, is, I mean, don't they sort of war game these things? Don't they plan them out? Don't they think through a sequence of, well, my court case is this day and I'm coming and I refused or I didn't answer in a timely manner the invitation from Buckingham Palace, and then I accepted. I mean, it is such a roller coaster ride of chaos that it's mind-boggling. And where are the advisors in all of this?
Well, the problem is, I think they're no longer listening to any advice. They're actually now just doing it themselves. And I've always said, actually, they've had advisors for a long time who they've chosen to ignore. And now we are getting to see what it's really like when Harry and Meghan run their own affairs, and it's total chaos. Look, the media here used to behave abominably, right? But we're talking 2 decades ago, before I entered Fleet Street, actually, which was after there had been royal editors who went to jail. And trust me, at that point, the bad behavior that Prince Harry is referring to stopped. But David Sherborne, the very slippery lawyer in this case, and I've had my own courtroom battles against him, Paula, and won, by the way, has been able to convince this cabal of celebrities, from Elton John to Prince Harry, that he is somehow going to win this time. This time we're going to be the winner. And you just have to listen to the actual criminals at organizations like Byline Times and Byline Investigates, Paula, who are genuine criminals, like convicted phone hackers. And I really do think we just have to move on now from that era. This has to be the final nail in the coffin.
Well, I do have to take just one point with what you said. I do believe David Sherborne did win. This was $50 million or £50 million.
And he gets
so
his
sorry.
photo in the paper a lot.
He's made hundreds of millions of dollars off of these cases, has he not? His fees will have to be paid. Now, there is some insurance. It does not cover everything. And I have been told the only person who can actually afford to pay the fees is Elton John, and that he will be on the hook for tens of millions because, of course, in your system, loser takes all or winner takes all. So the loser has to pay the winner's fees. So this will be interesting. And of course, David Sherborne at the end of the day skips off freely with a huge fat check, doesn't he?
And Paula, you were in London last week doing your own independent reporting on this. And you believe, from speaking to your sources, that not only Prince Harry personally, but also now the Invictus Games are in serious financial trouble. What did you discover?
Well, the Invictus Games, as I've been reporting basically over the last year, has been in massive trouble anyway. The government, of course, gave 29 million pounds. Now, the unwritten agreement is that Harry will match or exceed that with corporate or private donations. He has only raised 4 million pounds so far. This is a make or break time for him. He has to raise 25 million pounds from corporations or private donors. And frankly, that's not going to happen. I did meet with somebody from who has knowledge of Invictus Birmingham, and they were saying at this point, if he does not raise it, it will be postponed. If it's postponed, it will be canceled. And that is a big deal because before this entire mishegas came about, they were already talking about white knuckling it through the Birmingham Invictus and then having a major discussion after about the future of Invictus in general. And I know that people all like to say, Invictus, it's so great. It's for the wounded warriors and the veterans. Now, listen, there's no larger supporter of veterans than I am. Well, perhaps, but I am a big one. And no offense, when I look at the Department of Defense in the United States doing the Wounded Warrior Games every year for $2 million, that's 1.5 million pounds, there is no reason for anyone to be spending 60 million pounds on games where 500 people compete for 1 week. There is no justification for that price tag, period. Not to mention, if you look at books like Tom Bauer, and Tom Bauer went to the Vancouver Games, nobody showed up to watch the Invictus Warriors compete. They showed up for Katy Perry, who I'm sure was paid magnificently for performing. But it is at this point, yes, the idea is good. Yes, the idea was borrowed, wink, from the Americans, and he made it into his own. And yes, it was given to Harry to give him something to do. Unfortunately, ever since, Harry has left the confines of the palace and not had people to oversee it, the costs have ballooned and it's gotten absurd.
Meanwhile, sources close to Harry are even questioning if the offer for the palace was genuine. So, Hugo Vickers, do you think, given these circumstances, King Charles was right to end up banning Harry from staying at Buckingham Palace?
Well, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because I would have thought there were quite a lot of rooms at Buckingham Palace which could be made available at very short notice if he wanted to. I think probably there's something more going on behind the scenes, using emotional blackmail. You know, do I bring the children? Will you ever see your grandchildren? What about, you know, that whole security issue which she keeps banging on about? But it's very sad because actually what I've always hoped would happen would be that there could be some kind of personal reconciliation between father and son for two reasons. One, we know from Prince Harry himself that the king said he didn't want his last years to be made miserable by family disputes. And secondly, whatever you think about Prince Harry, from the fact that he, going back to his childhood when he lost his mother, he is carrying around a lot of emotional baggage, and he's got a lot of problems, I suspect, out in Montecito as well with his wife and children. And I think, if his father dies, let's say, and he hasn't reconciled with him, he's going to be even more of a mess than he is already. So in that respect, I hope that there could be some sort of reconciliation personally. As for him taking any part in royal life, royal working life, no, because as we've seen, the moment he appears in this country, he becomes a total distraction. People just write about what he's doing, what he's thinking, what is going on, this and this and this and this. And it just takes away from, as I said before, the very important work that our royal family are doing, which they're not doing for themselves, they're doing for the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth.
To me, this is not just emotional blackmail now against the king. They're playing with their children's emotions, Lee. Because Harry knew he didn't have the security. So why on earth is he telling the children, oh, we're going to come and we're going to give you this great visit, when he knew that security was not going to be provided? I'm sorry, maybe I'm being unkind, but to me, there seems something twisted now, not just in the way that they're emotionally blackmailing King Charles, but I would also say in the way that they are misleading their own children.
Absolutely, Dan. And I mean, someone who cares about a reputation with his family doesn't publish the kind of incendiary things, the kind of unforgivable things. There can be no forgiveness for this son who has caused so much damage, not just to a family, but to a nation. We don't have a monarchy in the United States, obviously. And I, as someone who admires the monarchy and the good that I feel it does, and the compelling things about the government and the way the monarchy really, I believe, allows the United Kingdom to punch above its weight diplomatically in the world. Harry is being dangerous not just to his relations, which is unforgivable too, by the way. He's being dangerous to his whole nation and its system of monarchy. He has accused them of unforgivable things, of racism, and his wife did, and he stood by while she did. I don't think that the public has any appetite for any kind of official reconciliation. Now, a personal reconciliation, absolutely, between father and son, I think is very advantageous, is very palatable, is exactly what would tug at most people's heartstrings. But Harry doesn't deserve that for the unforgivable things that he's done.
Those are not always the same. Although these legal battles involve newspapers, they inevitably influence the wider royal story. Harry's relationship with King Charles and Prince William has already been tested by years of public disagreement. Every major headline, whether about interviews, memoirs, or court cases, adds another layer to an already complicated family narrative. Buckingham Palace has generally avoided commenting on Harry's private legal matters, leaving much of the discussion to legal analysts and royal commentators. The biggest question now is what comes next. Will Harry continue pursuing legal action? Will future rulings strengthen or weaken his campaign? And how will these ongoing disputes shape public perceptions of both the Sussexes and the British press? Only future court decisions can answer those questions. For now, the latest ruling marks another significant chapter in one of the most closely watched legal battles involving a modern member of the royal family. Whatever side of the debate people take, one fact remains clear. Prince Harry's legal campaign has become a defining part of his public life. Its outcome could influence not only his own future but also the wider conversation about privacy, journalism, and accountability. As more developments emerge, separating verified court findings from opinion and speculation will remain essential. Do you think Prince Harry's legal campaign will have a lasting impact on the relationship between public figures and the media? Or do you believe these cases have become more symbolic than practical? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more royal news and updates. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.